Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation that I can present some highlights from Hydropower Europe. I just start with the first slide. It's a little bit an addition what yesterday Maria Ubienna said about the hydropower development in the world. Here you just see hydropower development in Europe since 2005. Okay, we recognize that there is not a huge development, so there is a kind of a stagnation, except if you are looking after 2011, there was suddenly a kind of a step from about 600,000 to 650,000, and I guess this step was closely related to the Fukushima event. So if we, in principle, just to go forward, okay. If we are looking in principle, only 2/3 of the economical feasible potential is used in Europe. What means economical feasible? Of course, only if the electricity market would need the energy or the electricity. Now, where is this potential situated in Europe? You see here a list of all countries in Europe. In blue is what is generated actually, and in green is what theoretically could be exploited in an economical way, as I said, if the energy would be needed. You see some countries which have a sun, and these countries, they use at the moment less than 50% of this economical potential. So there, in principle, a development could be done. Now, the question, of course, is which contribution under which constraints can be expected from hydropower to support, of course, the energy transition in Europe, but also the Green Deal in Europe. In a way, our Hydropower Europe project or forum is looking at this question and trying to give an answer by suggesting then recommendation regarding research and future development. So you see here the composition of this Hydropower Europe project, which is coordinated by ICOLD, and you see also the 7 core partners and some linked parties. As I already mentioned, the forum will or is already producing a strategic industrial roadmap and a research and innovation agenda, which of course is contributing that hydropower can then be supporting strongly the energy transition in Europe, and of course with a very high flexibility in the renewable share. Now in the beginning of this Hydropower Europe project, we have defined a vision. The vision, of course, is hydropower as a catalyst for the energy transition in Europe. This has 4 points. The first point is increasing hydropower production through the implementation of new environmental friendly multi-purpose hydropower schemes and by using hidden potential in existing infrastructure. Okay, you will perhaps ask why we didn't give a number. For the timing, we didn't give a number, but hearing what you have presented today, I think we have quite a high potential if we can make this new hydropower project fish friendly. So I guess until 2050, we could at least increase production in Europe by some, perhaps 10%. Another point which is very important is increasing the flexibility of generation from existing hydropower plants by adaptation and optimization of infrastructure and equipment combined with innovative solution for the mitigation of environmental impact. So that goes in direction of flexibility. Then storage is an issue, increasing storage by the hastening of existing dams and the construction of new reservoirs, which have to ensure not only flexible energy supply, but of course also support food and water supply and thus contribute the water energy food nexus and of course achievement of the sustainable goals of the United Nations. And finally, which is also an important issue, strengthening the contribution of flexibility from pumped storage plants by developing and building innovative arrangements in combination with existing water infrastructure. Now, hydropower is in a complex world, and of course also Europe is quite complex. And to see a little bit what is the complexity for future development of hydropower, we made a global system analysis approach, which will be a supporting tool for the evaluation of strategic actions and research direction. So based on a first round of stakeholder consultation, we identified some 103 factors which are in principle influencing the hydropower sector. These factors, of course, concern directly hydropower itself. They concern energy and economy policy, of course, electricity market. Then we have environment and public society. Then research and development, legal framework, and of course climate change. Okay, you worked a lot on this FIThydro. You are asking where is the fish swimming in this network? Of course, the fish is well presented in this complex network, even if you cannot see it. But if you don't believe me, I can just highlight a little bit the part on the right upper end. And there you see where fish in principle is included. I highlighted it in yellow. So you have the fish population, fish habitat, and fish migration. And of course, you see how this fish is interconnected really to this complex world. Now, what we can do with such a complex system analysis. In principle, when we have done this network, and I can tell you, it took me quite some time to figure out this network in the bathroom, where we have a lot of space on the wall. And of course, then you can make a matrix which shows the activity of each of these factors or the passivity of each of these factors. Activity means how many times a factor influences another, and passivity means how many a factor is influenced by others. So when we are then analyzing this matrix, then we have a space where is a critical space. That means these factors are very active, but they are also influenced by a lot of others. So they are important if you are taking decision. Then we have another space, which is in principle just below. This is showing the factors which have a very, very high activity, but are less influenced by others. Now, if you are doing this analysis, we could already, let's say, identify the factors which have the highest activity. We in principle put them in three categories: first, second, and third. What you see in blue, that are factors which are related directly to the hydropower technology. But for us, much more interesting and also much more challenge are the factors which are related to the environment and the public society. You see highest activity is environmental mitigation measures. Then you see a second is benefit sharing local communities, ecological flow, population relocation. It's perhaps a little bit less in Europe, except in the south. And then you have also still high activity. Below you see eco-label, fish habitat. Okay, that's good for a continuation of all activities. Loss of biodiversity, loss of landscape, and finally some factor which is related to digitalization. Important are the factors which can be controlled, the active factors which can be controlled, and these controllable active factors can then be used as a lever to improve the hydropower situation in the system, and therefore they are very important for the prioritization of any strategic action and research direction. So we are now already in the second round of our consultation. You see, we in principle are contributing to that vision, hydropower as a catalyst for energy transition in Europe, with two main outcomes, which is the research and innovation agenda and the strategic industry roadmap. They undergo a consultation of stakeholders. Then also we consulted an expert group, and then the feedback is improving the documents. So we have now finished the second round, and there will be a third final round. So you see the main outcomes will be this research and innovation agenda. This will give recommendation to the European Commission what has to be done to support hydropower in future. So we have identified 14 research themes, about 110 topics. Then on the other hand, to see how the barriers for hydropower development can be overcome, we have defined 11 strategic direction and 40 detailed actions. So just to finish, some highlights, or let's say some priority research direction. So we have a research direction addressing storage and flexibility, which is developing new designs and concepts for distributed pump storage system and improving feasibility and cost efficiency of underground power, pump storage power plant. Then we have also an important thing which is related to flexibility and peak energy, new simulation tools for harsher operation and conditions in conjunction with the material properties of machine sets. Then integrating storage and pump storage with other generation as wind, floating PV, water services such as desalination. And then something, of course, which relates to your initiative. So you will not having a boring life from now because your FIThydro project is finished. There is a lot of things to do, as we will suggest also an important initiative which goes in the direction as measures and approaches to protect fish populations. Finally, you see a topic related to climate change. And to finish, just 4 hot, let's say, strategic actions which we will propose. First is collect a catalog of best practice of successful multi-purpose project, creating a win-win situation between all stakeholders. And then develop innovative approaches to address environmental issues and biodiversity protection with comprehensive approaches allowing compromises. I put this in yellow because in biodiversity, okay, one of the indicators in biodiversity is, of course, fish. Then increasing awareness of European citizens for the importance of hydropower. This is very important, public awareness. Then a topic, or let's say a strategic direction regarding sustainability, sustainable sediment management strategy for ensuring sustainable reservoir capacity and sediment dynamics in rivers. And again, of course, reservoir sedimentation has a strong link in principle to fish and fish biodiversity. And finally, develop a more stable regulation framework which promotes green renewable power with a fair price, tax policy, and subsidy model designed for a level playing field among different technology based on a comprehensive analysis of the carbon footprint and life cycle. Okay, so that was some highlights. I would like to congratulate the whole team and all participants to the project FIThydro. I think you prepared really the future also that hydropower can play an important role in the energy transition in Europe. And we know all, if we want to do new project, they have to be done in an environmental friendly way. And of course, environmental friendly is also mainly also based on fish friendly project. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Anton. I have a question myself. You see some 10% additional hydropower in Europe. Could you please specify where you see it, what sizes you see it? So is it refurbishing? Is it new hydropower? How do you imagine would that be the 10%?
Okay, so this 10% is I would say it's something which I'm convinced which can be done until 2050. So this is the period. I would say by rehabilitation and uprating, there is quite easy to do some 4, 5, 6, 7%. But I would say the idea there is a new project. So I'm convinced that we can do certainly some 10% compared to the 600 terawatt hours or 650 terawatt hours per year as we have now in Europe. And of course, you have seen the countries with the sun, which are those who have a little part of the potential which is exploited. And of course, they are mainly, let's say, in the southern region, covering Balkan to Turkey. Turkey is an important player. We considered in principle Turkey as a country of the European continent, but also, let's say, countries which will have a huge problem with storage, not only for power, but mainly for irrigation and for water avoiding drought and also flood. So in principle, those countries which are already touched a lot by climate change, which are the semi-arid countries, we know them in the southern part, Iberian part, and but also southern Italy. And so this is certainly the hotspot of development more to the south, but also in the Alps there are some parts left, and I guess also in Scandinavia, if they can be done in an environmental friendly manner, this project.
There is a quick question by Gerardo Ansaldúa, and he asked, are there any publications available that document the assessment you showed on factors and their influence?
The question is if the documents are available or what?
Publications available that
document
the assessment you showed.
Yeah, there is a report. The report can be.
And the methodology you presented, I think he's asking for your methodology, yes, which is from St. Gallen.
Yes, the methodology is also described in the report. But this methodology of the complex system analysis with such a network has been used already before. I made also with some scientific collaborators a publication, for example, analyzing a multi-purpose hydropower scheme with that methodology to see where are the critical factors which allows you to get an approval of the project as efficient as possible.